What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Inside the WSOP, where we kind of give you a glimpse into our summer here at Solve for Why. So we're heading into the second week of the World Series. I've only gotten to play a handful of events so far. I've done a little bit of commentary, and I've been playing a little bit of cash here and there. A little more on that to come. We're heading into the marathon event today. A great event. First time I've ever played it. Incredible, the field size that it gets and how splashy it is. I actually got to play for one orbit last night before we bagged after having done commentary for the 5K all day. And just in those 9 hands, I was watching standard open to 6 big blinds, and it would go 5 ways pretty much consistently. So I'm pumped for day 2 restart today. I only have 30 big blinds or so, but the prospects seem very good. So to catch you up a little bit on what's happened to me in the last week, played the Millie Maker 4 times, no good. It happens. Played the 5K as well. Did not last long in there. My aces went down to a set. Heading into the weekend, after busting the Millie Maker, I hopped online and jumped in the 100K. Found myself as chip leader with 100 left and 76 paying or so. And then suddenly I got the text, hey, seat open, Ivey's Room. It's like, okay. This is a weird spot, but no big deal. I'll figure it out. Then the next text follows through. We're bumping it up. 1K, 2K. Okay. Let that sink in for a second. So this is basically the biggest that I've played since about a year ago or so when we did the Poker After Dark test, which turned into a 1K, 2K game throughout the course. So I hurry up, I hop in the car, I keep WSOP fired up on mobile. I'm basically just trying to blind my way into the money. When actually on the way there, I defend 6-3 from the big blind, flop 2 pair, and get it in against the flush draw on the stone bubble. Flush came through, I got knocked out 77th, que sera, sera. So I hop into the game, they're playing 500 1K whenever I get there, and within an orbit or so, the game gets changed to 1K, 2K. First hand of 1K, 2K gets a little out of control. I'm in the small blind for 1K. 2K is posted. Under the gun decides that he's not happy with the action and bumps it up to 4K. JRB then decides he's going to be an accommodating host, and he double straddles to 8K. So we're playing 7-handed. 2 folds, the button decides to limp for 8,000. Everybody's roughly 200,000 effective. I down to 2 6s in the small blind. Now, this is certainly a profitable shove, considering that I'm only 25 big blinds effective to the field. But I have to be mindful also that I'm about to play for the rest of the night at very large stakes, where 200,000 will actually be 100 big blinds. So I don't really think that there's any need to take a small edge here. And I also think that the field is going to underreact to the stakes being what they are. They're going to underadjust. I don't think people are going to suddenly start playing their 200K stack as if it's 25 big blinds. So I like to limp, expecting it to just kind of check through a lot, me get to realize my equity out of position. If I flop a set, that could be a very profitable endeavor. If not, no harm, no foul. The big blind folds, the straddle completes the 8,000. JRB then bumps it up to 40K. Now, this is a little bit tricky because he is known to be very aggressive out of his double straddles and straddles. I imagine that he would try to steal with pretty much all ace highs. I imagine that he would try to raise for value with most of his pairs, a lot of his suited broadways, things along these lines. It's difficult to really understand because I think a lot of what drives that action outside of his actual hand holding himself is how he's doing in the game. And I just got there, so I literally have no clue. Folds back to me, and now I don't think that I have much of a decision to make. This is kind of a layup all in. I am only 25 big blinds effective. There are 8, 9 blinds out there dead. Not dead, obviously the double straddle has a live hand, but I think his range is plenty wide enough to dignify getting it in here with pocket 6s, running it twice, and expecting some sort of return in the long run. So I like to shove, and lo and behold, Mr. Robert has pocket aces and felts me the first hand of 1K, 2K. So we start off in the hole. It happens. That's kind of the nature of the beast. We know what we're signing up for this. My situation in the game isn't going to change any. I have plenty reloads behind to play. So reload for another 200,000. Play a couple of orbits. Pick up a bunch of uncontested pots. I win a 3-bet pot where I make a flush. Not really a very interesting hand, but I basically get back up to even. So now I have about 400,000 effective. And throughout the course of the session, what I'm noticing is there's a new player to my right who I'm not very familiar with, but he is very splashy. I love his action. He is great for the game, and he's doing well. Like, he's winning. So the game is playing this weird balance between gambly and too big for everybody, if that makes any sense. I'm sure a lot of you out there have been in these types of games, 2-5 games that turn into 2-5-10 games with, you know, a mandatory 20 sometimes, or whatever the case may be, right? Like, sometimes the environment just gets too volatile for what we really signed up for. And it's part of our jobs as professional to figure out, like, where we can cut our EV the best as the environment's responding a certain way. So that being said, a hand pops up where the hijack opens to 6,000, and my man to my right here, who's been a little active, doing some crazy stuff. He 4-bet me with queen deuce suited after opening. You know, there's been some back and forth, we'll say. He makes it 20,000, and we're about 350,000 effective. I'm not really looking to insert myself often in a raise 3-bet dynamic when we're only or when we're sub 200 big blinds deep, but this one's kind of special. I do think that the cutoff's range here is way too wide from a 3-bet standpoint. So that's going to open me up to good cold 4-bets as well as cold calls. Now, the reason why I'm working in cold calls is because I've noticed that he tends to take the next aggressive action. So me cold 4-betting a marginal hand can be really problematic if I'm not ready to go for it, because he very well is capable of just 5-bet shoving with whatever the hell he chose to 3-bet with, you know? If he has a hand like King 10 off and doesn't think that calling is going to be the right play, he very well may just jam. So I do want to reserve some of my good post-flop hands that retain value in my cold calling range. This is a massive exploit, of course. Like, nobody's trying to profess that this is a big part of balance, but against certain profile types, I think that you kind of just need to, like, take the gloves off and go to war. So I look down a pocket deuces. A very good hand for this type of scenario because I'm going to have very simple decisions post. I cold call the 20. And the other thing that I don't really need to concern myself with is a 4-bet coming from the original raiser all that often. Again, this environment is very foreign to a lot of us, and the game seems to be playing bigger than it customarily would. So you're not going to see the standard 4-bet range. I don't think like ace-queen is going to be able to 4-bet, or jacks, or maybe even queens. I think sometimes ace-king is even just going to cold call due to the kind of fear factor of playing a 400 big blind pot. The hijack opener does answer me with a call, and we go 3 ways. There's now 60,000 in the pot. We see a flop of king 4 deuce, rainbow. Beautiful. The original raiser checks. The 3-better continues for 15,000. Not unheard of to see a quarter pot bet here. This board texture is insanely dry, and he's just going to want to deny the equity of my cold calling range with a myriad of hands. So I think that, like, he may be making this bet with range. I don't think he's very protected here. I think we can see everything from middling pocket pairs all the way to ace highs, queen jack high, etc. The original raiser folds after I elect to call. We see a turn then of the ace of hearts, which brings the ace and the 4 of hearts. I have the deuce of hearts, and the king is the non-heart. So this is kind of an interesting spot now because that's a great range card for him. Now I anticipate that he's going to be barreling pretty much range again, which is great because when we're holding a set and our opponent is not really narrowing as more information comes out, that means that there's going to be a plethora of hands that we're going to be able to get to induce a bluff from later or extract value from as he accrues showdown value. So whether or not he has an ace here isn't really all that important to us. We're going to be facing a bet here a really high percentage of the time anyway. He elects to bet 45,000. Again, for all the reasons I just stated, I want to keep his range really wide. I want to be able to attack a lot of his marginal showdown value for value myself on the end, and I also want to leave hands like Queen Jack, Jack 10, King X of Hearts. I want to leave all these hands available to him to be bluffing river on bricks. So I like to call again. River's the 10 of clubs. Not the best card in the deck. It's conceivable that he has pocket 10s. He certainly could have all combos of Queen Jack, but certainly Queen Jack of Hearts. And obviously he can have aces or kings that still beat me. So basically the 10 just increases the likelihood of me being beaten, which was really, really low on the flop, still relatively low on the turn, and now is slightly increased to the river. There just aren't going to be a lot of hands that beat me, but there are more hands, I think, or as many hands that beat me that I think I could play an all-in pot against as there are hands that could call me. So basically, if we end up all in on the river, I would expect to only get called by better, or hands like ace-king, perhaps ace-10, and then maybe if he has no regard for money, which I don't really know yet, king-10. So with that river coming out, he now bets 95,000, and I have about 150,000 behind. So this felt close in the moment to the point where I paused for concern and really strongly considered shoving. But after further analysis, it's just very clearly a call. I just can't get enough value by shoving. I need to basically protect myself for the times that I am beaten and understand that I'm sacrificing a little bit of value versus ace-king, perhaps some other two-pair combinations, whatever the case may be. I elect to just call, and unfortunately, for the second time, I play a 400K pot where my opponent has a set of kings. So I got set over set again, which strangely enough, the only two times I can even remember in the last 3 years getting set over set were 400K pots where I was on the wrong side of it. The last one being my kings versus Garrett Alstein's aces on PokerGo. So that was brutal. That had me stuck a little over 200 for the session. I ran into another pretty tough spot where I flopped top 2 versus bottom set and lost a little over 100 that hand. Ultimately, I finished down about 2 buy-ins, which is really tough when the standard stakes that I'm playing are 2, 4, 3, 6. But this was an amazing opportunity and one that I would happily take again. So hopefully the game continues to run throughout the summer. Hopefully I get into a lineup as good as that one was, and hopefully I turn my luck around a little bit in some of these really, really big pots. So that's it for me. Stay tuned for a lot more from inside the WSOP, where we give you a glimpse into our series. You're going to see a lot from Jordan, Matt Hunt, Christian as we go forward, and definitely pay attention to Results May Vary. That's our more, we'll call creative vlog, giving you guys insights to what's going on behind closed doors while we're out here grinding for the summer. Bye.